We're going to go ahead and get started here. Thank you for joining us, everybody. All right, so we are the data success chapter at the recently rebranded Enterprise Technology. I always want to say office at the end of that. I don't know if we're allowed to. Josh is also going to run up here at some points. He's got like 5 presentations he's doing in 2 days. And then we're like, hey, you should talk in ours too, because why not? I like that we have all these professional headshots here, and then this is just like me at a bar in San Diego. All right, so agenda is pretty straightforward here. We just want to make sure everyone's aware of all the tools that you guys have available. We'll add we probably won't dive very deep into any one of them because we obviously have other sessions about those tools. But we want to talk a little bit about automating your work, how to share your work, and then where to find training and support. We're going to start and end with that. So go ahead, Twyla.
Yes, okay, I'll take it. So you can see that this is my slide because my picture's up there in the corner. It was a smart way we did it when we have 4 people presenting. But what I really wanted to start out saying is you have support. And if you get anything out of this presentation, it is that if you can't figure something out, you can always use the support. And there's a request consultation. It is a great tool. I feel like sometimes it's underutilized. We obviously want you to try to do it yourself first before just requesting a consult, but we're here. You have the rest of the data community as well, but you can find that right there on the analytics portal. And we have that screenshot where you just do the drop down and then request consultation. And then you'll be able to provide us with some details about what tool you're trying to use, kind of what your problem is. And then it will come to one of us and then we'll help out as best we can.
Also, that feedback button is pretty nice. I just got one yesterday from a faculty member. It was like, how come I can't group by my students that I need in my ACAD plan? And we get that ticket immediately, and then we can send her an email and work through it. So it's pretty nice. We don't hear a ton from the kind of what we call data citizens, but we'd love to hear from everybody because we're definitely here to help. So wanted to take you through some slides of what a possible data project might look like before overwhelming you with the big view of things. So we're also going to include Keanu a lot in this presentation because why not? I think Josh started that a while ago. So you want to connect to some data using some querying tool and then make it look nice and share it. That's essentially what most data projects will look like. One way that you could do that is if you're connecting to the data warehouse and you want to mash up maybe some Google Sheets data or just some static Excel data that you have from your college or whatever it is. You might use a data viz tool like Tableau, and then you output or you share that via analytics.asu.edu. So this would be a pretty straightforward example, just using that tool because it can definitely connect to a bunch of different things, mash up data. It's not like super robust on the data prep side of things, but it is an option. You could also use Alteryx to do your data prep. So this would be the same data sources there. You would use Alteryx to then output a table to our user databases and then connect to that table that you made using Tableau, and then you share it at analytics.asu.edu. And we'll see if Stephen can join us here.
Yeah, let me know if I'm too quiet or too loud.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah, sorry I couldn't be there today, but we're making this technology work for us. So we've got some different use cases here, essentially, using combinations of different tools. So, of course, Report Builder or Reporting Services, as it's known, is one of the primary reporting tools that we use. And the Redshift Data Warehouse is the primary data source that we use to build those reports. And then, of course, these reports, along with Tableau content, can all be published right on the analytics portal. So this is just one more way you can do it. A slightly more complicated example is if you're connecting to some sort of additional data source besides just the data warehouse. You can use an ETL tool like Alteryx to bring all of that data together, do any sort of transformations you need, And since Alteryx is not a database itself, you need to store that data somewhere when you're done with it. So in this example, we're showing you how you could output the data to a user database table. And then your report can simply query from that table. And one of the benefits here is that you can build multiple reports off of the same table. You can also share this table with other people who want to build their own reports. So this is a great way to share enriched content in a table format.
And just as an example, Stephen, you have those enrollment tracking reports are now using this flow. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So Stephen's done a great job working with the registrar's data team on building out their reports. So they use a couple different methods. Like they have some that just look like this, and they have some that look like this. And those are heavy hitters, obviously, for reporting at ASU. Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah.
So yes, so even more using a file share, which is FSX. So it's the same process that you saw initially that Stephen already talked about, starting with data from Redshift. You're going to use Alteryx as your query building tool. What you'll want is like a flat file CSV. And then I think with this example, you're sharing that with FSX. So I don't think I will go into detail about FSX. It can be complicated. But then what you really want is you want what everybody loves, something simple, which is Excel. Everybody knows Excel. So, and then from there, you're able to share that in the on the portal, on the analytics portal. So any more detail, Dixon, you want to go into?
I would just say in terms of FSX complexity, and for the end users, they just have to be able to connect to VPN. That's all it is, which can trip people up, no doubt. But the initial setup is just some stuff that we can help you guys work through on permissions and things like that. But yeah, everyone loves Excel.
So this is just another SQL tool that we use JDBC connection instead of, mostly people use ODBC size, but essentially you can connect to several type database in here. That's the beauty of it. And you just connect it, you get SQL, you can export it out CSV, and that voila, you're done.
And we'll talk about more of these tools later on in the presentation, but just wanted to give you the quick overview. So here you have your report developer connecting to usually an Amazon workspace, which we'll talk about. It's a virtual machine that lets you securely access all of these databases, which Josh will talk about later. You have your suite of tools that you can choose from, including Power BI. We'll talk about that a little bit. And from there, that feeds into this analytics.asu.edu portal, where you have the cool Keanu who's playing bass for Dogstar, and he doesn't have that much time to go understand any of this nuance. So he's just trying to get his data and be off and on to his next gig. Oh, we have text. There you go. Go ahead, Bob.
All right, workspace. So what is a workspace? Actually, it's just virtual machine, actually just virtual desktop. It's we make it secure so we can use different type of tool on the BI pretty much. And also we can connect to any database at issue, departmental and some other database that we can think of, but have to open with the firewall, of course. So, and also who is using it right now? Is it about more than 600 developers? And about down the road, so they create the workspace and then they, build the content and then they provide to analytics portal. It's about more than 4,000 people using it, and to create to consume them. So right now, what we have on the workspace, what we try to improve, right? So to make it like the custom page when you log on right now, you log on, if you don't read the documentation, you don't really see it. So we want to make it like at the background, and you log on, you can see all the verbiage and anything what you need to do. So that's why we're working on back end right now. And also on the monthly, we have the workspace, but the way we do, we build it, we custom build it, and then we add a new software, new updates. So we build another image. So what we try to do, so every month, so we will deploy it to the image. So if you want to get to the latest one, I can go over later and in later slides, so you can just update to the new version. So you can do that. and of course update the new tool. If you guys need something that you said, hey, we have some tool that you guys might be interesting, yeah, just submit it to us, and we will be able to evaluate and we will be able to add it for you.
I am curious, how many in the room are in that 650 number? How many of you have a workspace? Or maybe how many don't have a workspace? Okay, cool. So yeah, there's plenty of people who could benefit from what we're talking about here.
Okay, so what type of workspace, right? Amazon is more universal, so it would be the keyword for them. And Amazon workspace, sometimes you will hear BI desktop, and we try to do initially when we launch, we try to make it so it won't use the proprietary word. So we say, okay, let's do BI desktop. But now it seems to be implemented, we go to AWS ecosystem more, so we try to adopt the word we call Amazon Workspace. And also within Amazon Workspace, we have more than one type. So the one that our BI team using is right now, we call, the technical term would be EDA, stored for Enterprise Data Analysis. So that would be the one that we are doing. And also they have two different types, like probably you hear that would be the black or maroon. But behind the scene, they call black is more like performance, and the maroon is more like the power. And the difference is just only the same space, the same hard drive, the same volume, but only the difference is it would be the memory uses. So one would be 8 and the other would be 16. Okay, the second one on the data warehouse, you guys don't worry about that. It's only a few that dedicating to the data warehouse, but they use the same deployment. That's the reason we brought it up. So they have the gray. So this one, they have their own software that they install, deploy to their workspace. But for that tool, they have somewhat overlap with us, but most of the time they will have their own tool that's to do mostly do the data warehouse, like a Spectrums or some other that they would deploy it to the works data warehouse.
Quick note on the black versus maroon decision. When you're requesting one of these, I would just start out with black for basically every use case. You could always upgrade if you feel like you need more memory. Generally, if you're trying to pull in, all 350 million rows of Workday data, doesn't matter if you have black or maroon, like you're going to run out of memory. So start on black and just see if it's going to work for you. It probably will.
And also, I want to mention on the black and maroon here too. When the black, so your supervisor will just notify. So the she or he doesn't have to approve. But for the maroon, on the other hand, she have to approve or he have to approve in order to go to the next stage. All right, if it in the BI workspace, so now I'm just gonna focus on the BI workspace would be EDA. That's the one that we have. In the image, we call the base image. So it would be the software already pre-installed. So especially the one with highlight on this would be the most community using. For instance, like a studio would be the DBeaver, Power BI, report builders, and our studio. So this one here is already pre-installed for you guys, so you don't need to do anything special. All you need to do is just try to connect them, and you are good to go. Okay, so and then of course we have different exceptions. Couple software that we are using right now is probably you heard about Alteryx and Tableau. So Alteryx it's free, but at the end of the year you will get billed and charge back from the department.
It's free until we bill you.
Until we bill you. And for Tableau, on the other hand, so several departments actually they buy their own, and some UTO, so we have some extra license. So we actually provide some of you, but we have only limited license. But if your department can afford that, you welcome to just just have them buy it, and the BOM team buy it for you. So.
If you guys know Kumail Nanjiani, he's in Portlandia, and like the most amazing sketch ever. You could YouTube it later, where he's like the cell phone rep guy, and he's like, it's a one-time fee that we bill annually as part of his thing.
One thing inside the workspace, so we have the storage, right? So we have full storage. Okay, most of the time the people will use, depend on how you use them. And you can do OneDrive, you can do Work Docs, and you do Dropbox. And the new thing we just added in is Google Drive. So that's one the thing we actually added. We were so excited about that because the library teams are sort of try to add it in. So, oh, I want to be one-stop shopping, and it was great. But one thing I try to bring it up to the team, if you can, if you do any storage, make sure that you don't want to sync everything in your hard drive, in your local spy, to the Dropbox or any other storage here, because what happened is going to bring down you, because the data is synced back and forth. They don't have wiggle room to actually to utilize the memory. So what I would recommend the communities always have specific folder that you want to do, and then specify that folder and then sync with the workspace and all your local drive. Your performance is very, it will be very good.
Yeah, I think all these sync tools, the way they're configured on the workspace initially is it's going to do that selective smart sync where it doesn't pull down the file into your workspace until you double click on it. But yeah, it's more of like an issue if you are generating huge Tableau extracts. You could definitely fill up your D drive in the workspace, and we can try to help you navigate that.
And also the way that you look it up, whether the yours is synced or yours is not synced. So for instance, OneDrive, you will see you tap your mouse on the bottom right of your workspace, so you will see, okay, up to date, this means it's a sync. And also for the work doc, so it would be easier just to be online. Okay, online as we. And the Dropbox is similar to it, will be up to date. But the new thing for the Google Doc, so it doesn't really have, when you put your cursor on that, what you need to do, just right click on it, so everything is up to date. So that you know that your data is synced.
Yeah, a lot of options. So no excuses if you save your stuff to your D drive and your workspace gets rebuilt and you lose it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
one thing.
definitely use
Please
cloud
don't
storage.
do cross multiply. You know, you have one version here and one version in OneDrive, one version in Dropbox, so you're gonna have problem which one that you try to use. So that's just pretty bear in mind.
But yeah, one minor note on the Workdocs drive, it is like a mounted drive, so it's not occupying space in your D drive the way these other sync apps do. So if you are running out of space, you could try just saving stuff to that W drive.
So that's one thing about WorkDoc, because when we implement the first time, so we try to do like all Amazon ecosystem. So would be the WorkDoc, and then the community keep asking, okay, can we sync some other store, you know, and then that is why we bring all the OneDrive for the Microsoft and also Google Doc from other. I'm sure something down the road might be something else coming up. So maybe we try to figure out for it. Okay. So now things are workspace. So we encourage, think about workspace is like your laptop, right? So every time when you go home, you shut down your laptop and just go home, and you know everything's cleared up. It's very similar to your workspace. So workspace, we recommend you. So if you leave for the end of the day, so you just shut it down, and then you know it will clear up all the residuals that you have. And go back at Dixon. Okay, and also when you shut it down, I mean, shut it down, please keep them some time a little bit, because when they shut it down, the back behind the scene is still trying to update something. What happened was, okay, any update, anything that you have not shut down for a long time, or anything try to update, the window update or some other patchings and security, it need wait for you to update it. So as soon as you shut it down, and then it have the down point and so to how to update. As long as you log back in right away, so you're gonna get via air, depend on when you log on. So it will give you, oh, Season Connect, oh, I don't have that directory because of it. What happened that AWS tried to update your workspace, but because it doesn't know what they want to do, because you already try to get back in. So the best thing, if you can keep them maybe 5 or 10 minutes, I usually tell the community is about 15 to 20 minutes if you shut it down, if you don't shut it out that often. And also we have the schedule, like every week we try to shut it down for you on Sunday morning, like at midnight at Sunday morning. So it takes only a few minutes on that time. If we figure that, you know, nobody gonna use it, so we use it. We try to schedule weekly That's why probably you didn't hear from the Slack BI desktop, right? So you don't hear much about, okay, what happened with my workspace here. That's what we did on the back end. Okay, so the step to shut it down, so it will take so many ways to ice the cake, but I would recommend you actually just click on the like you did on your laptop, just click on the power button and then just click on shut down and then it will shut down. And then just wait about 10 to 15 minutes and you'll be good.
Yeah, a lot of people just think that Xing out of your workspace will shut it down. It's not going to. So
Right.
this is what we recommend.
Exit out, essentially you just disconnect. It's very similar, like you disconnect your when you log on to some other application, right? When you exit out, when you go, you open your browser again, your account is still active there. It's the same thing. So I mean, you exit out. So what happened is exit out, the behind the scene is still running, but it might not running correctly. So we recommend not to do that if you can. Okay, so now one thing that we try to have self-service for the community, so we call rebuild. What happened in rebuild is similar to, just reformat you pretty much like the easy term us would be just reformat your hard drive. Remember the old days, so we reformat a disk drive or something like that. It's very similar concept in that, except this one here. So if we rebuild it, why you want to rebuild yours, right? Because it's unstable, or maybe something you file corrupting, your profile corrupting, so something along those lines, something's happened when, and then we it would be the best. We said, okay, let's instead of try to troubleshooting one by one. So okay, we come up with the thing we call like a new image. So what we do, we just give you a new snapshot, new image. That would be better. So what happened was, okay, when we rebuild for you, so your C drive, like all the program file, everything, this is gonna get the latest image. And then your D drive, your profile, which is probably you see why you get D instead of C, right? Your personal computer, you got a C drive for your personal computer, but for the workspace, your personal folder, everything, and it's gonna be on the D drive. But this D drive will still intact, will be restored. But keep in mind, it's about the last 12 hours that you have between you save something. If you want to rebuild it, make sure you don't save anything within the last hours. You won't get that. So the data will save it on the last 12 hours snapshot. Okay. So the process, how long would it take? So, about 20 to 40, but this is conservative. I usually, if you think you're going to go to lunch or something, I usually say, okay, let's do one hour for all the OS, and then another hour for the all application. But this is just my rule of thumb. But technically, there would be 20 to 40 minutes. But the thing is that when the 20 to 40 minutes, but and they have a small thing, like a small step. I don't want to say red hat. That's how I'm making it trouble here. But it's going to be small application. It's a small some what do you call that? Like from SCCM, it will take some time to deploy. That's what I think is the best thing. I always recommend up to 2 hours, but the behind the scenes only 20 to 40 minutes to do it. But you might not get correctly because some of the application might install it from SCCM. SCCM take longer for us to install. The reason we get it too short here because we actually image it ourselves. This would be faster for the community to get it back. Okay, can you rebuild your workspace? Definitely, yes. It's awesome. That's what self-service that's what we aim for. You guys can be the power. You can just, be king of your castle. So, okay, the step is pretty self-explanatory. When you see you click on the setting, and all you need to do is click on the review your workspace, and then it can tell you on the bottom slide there. It will say that, oh, okay, well. And what happened, is just going to be, they're going to save in the last 12-hour snapshot. And then as soon as you click the rebuild button, and then you just let it work on its own by itself, or you need to go home and go have lunch or do something, and then you come back later and it would be ready.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay.
Stephen, go ahead and talk about Alteryx.
Alrighty. So our Alteryx usage has been growing. We've got quite a few people in there and lots of workflows that have been scheduled to run on a regular basis. So of course, it's mostly being used for, transforming data, gathering it from multiple sources, doing some sort of cleanup or transformation, and then outputting it somewhere for use in a reporting tool. Right now, we're close to 1,000 scheduled workflows in there, just to kind of give you an idea of the scale, and about 200 people using it. We are in the middle of upgrading right now to a new version. So we're hoping to have that done over the next couple of months here. And that will give us some additional functionality. In particular, one of the features that we're most looking forward to is being able to schedule our workflows to run right after the underlying dependent data warehouse tables have run. So for example, if all the tables you're relying on refresh at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning, then your workflow would go ahead and just run right after that. Or if that load is delayed and it runs later, let's say closer to 7 a.m., your workflow will run then. And so that'll help all of those workflows run more efficiently back to back as early as possible and in the correct sequence. So I think that's it for Alteryx updates.
Yeah, Stephen, can I just tell a quick story about what you're battling through with the upgrade?
Sure.
So, all these tools, when you're trying to upgrade, one thing you would do, of course, is make a copy of everything so that you can test the upgrade in a dev environment. We have those 1,000 scheduled jobs that kick off nightly that Stephen mentioned. You don't want those to kick off twice, of course. So you copy everything over. Alteryx does not have a way to disable everything. So we may have to get a gaggle of student workers together, go click through manually and disable everything one at a time in order to test the upgrade. So that's the kind of thing that we love that we have Stephen for to navigate with Alteryx support. So thank you for all of that, Stephen.
Yeah. So in terms of extracting, there's lots of different data sources you can connect to. Alteryx is really good about allowing you to connect to pretty much any type of data source. And then once you have that data in memory in the tool, you can use all of the different transformation tools in your arsenal to clean it up, aggregate it different ways, add your calculated fields, join up different data sources, and then at the end, load that into whatever format you need. We do have some people who export to Tableau extracts. Sometimes they export to a CSV file, and probably one of the best options for outputting your data is a user database table. So that way it's easy to use, easy to share, easy to maintain. And then you can just schedule your workflow to update that table whenever it runs.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. So just recently, Samantha Carter on Elizabeth Riley's team here at Enterprise Technology is stepping into the Tableau ownership role, but I can talk about that tool. I've used it a ton, and I was the former product owner. So Tableau Desktop is the tool that you'll use to actually create dashboards, and that's what requires a license key, which they run for anywhere from $300 to $700. And we can help you procure a key or potentially just loan you out one of ours that we have. Tableau Server is where you actually publish the dashboards. There's no like variable cost or anything for people to consume that content, but someone with a license does have to, publish it out there. And right now we have about 140 license holders and then a ton of people viewing dashboards per month. We're trying to get better about surfacing some performance monitoring data, usage data. Right now, we don't get a ton of granular information on who's viewing dashboards, but we do want to get our power users to be able to surface that information so they can do things like outreach things. We obviously Sam will have to navigate managing the upgrades, but that's mostly run by U of A. They manage the Tableau server that we share with them in AU. So it can create beautiful vizzes like this Canvas dashboard that was made by one of our colleagues. I use it for almost every reporting initiative I do, except, or even when I'm not visualizing data and I just want to throw some data on a pivot table. I know a lot of people use it like that. Here's what I mentioned about the licenses. Creator licenses are what you're after. If you want to create dashboards, you could also use Tableau web authoring, which we'll talk about here in a sec, and that is free. So if that $700 a year is a really like a deal breaker for your department, just know that we have other avenues. In worst case scenario, of course, just try asking us and maybe you can use one of ours. And here's the form to submit. You'll have access to the slide deck. And then of course you can ask us if you ever need a link to a form. We know all of the forms. Web authoring is a way where you can leverage an existing data source on the server that someone else publishes for you. And then you can go create your own dashboard or edit an existing one. Probably a woefully underutilized feature that we could, through word of mouth, try to get more people involved with. Of course, not everyone has the time to go learn dashboard development if they are in a role that is mostly, they're consuming data, but just tweaking a filter to make it customized to your own kind of needs is such a powerful tool that I really wish our data citizens would know about. So I kind of depend on you folks to be the evangelizers for features like this. Samantha Carter, I'm expecting her to do great things with that kind of communication. So we're lucky to have her. Quick note on Power BI. Tomorrow, Twyla and I are going to talk to that wider audience of data citizens. Some of you may end up in that session, but we are going to have a Slido quiz. So this is like a bonus. You'll get one of them right, hopefully, if you go to that session. Right now, we only have 4 people using Power BI, like developers. It's in a weird place. It always has been because we have Tableau and we kind of had from our leadership of the enterprise technology, them not really wanting to like hitch our wagon to this Microsoft tool. And I've used it for my own purposes, like to help the Experience Center. It's a great tool. We sort of support it. So we're not going to have the most in-depth training. Granted, it is a pretty, intuitive tool. There are 4 other people you can go connect with who are using it. Surely the number is larger than that. I'm just talking about the data community that we interact with all the time. So there's probably faculty out there that we never talk to who use it every day. But yes, Power BI is an option. The HR data team really loves it. So if you've ever seen this dashboard that they made, that is made with Power BI. So we can't just say tomorrow we're not going to support it anymore. It's pretty heavily used just from this dashboard alone. So that's for Bob to deal with the upgrades. He's basically the product owner. Go ahead, Stephen.
All right, so our report builder is being used for quite a large portion of the published analytics reports. I think it's somewhere around half our Tableau and half our report builder. So this tool is best served for reports where you're just going to have a list of data or a pivot of data. Whereas if you're looking for more of a dashboard or a visual layout, you'll probably want to use Tableau instead. So some of our teams, like enrollment and records, for example, heavily rely on this tool because a lot of their reports are, lists of students or pivots counting the number of students different ways. So this tends to work out well for that. So we have quite a few reports published and also quite a few subscriptions that go out where copies of these reports are emailed to people on a regular basis. And yeah, I think that's all I had for Report Builder. This is
we're hurting on time, Stephen, so we're probably gonna have to fly through these. But
yeah,
just
an example of what one looks like. You pick your parameters and you get your pivot, and you can export to Excel if you want.
I think it's about 60% of our traffic to analytics.asu.edu goes to a report builder report. So pretty heavily used tool.
Okay, for the dbeaver, probably I mentioned earlier on the dbeaver. Like I said, one thing the different is that we use at ASU community, where I should say ASU used community version of it. So it's free, but they have enterprise one, but it costs about $300 and do almost the same thing, except the thing that they don't do is just the visual query. But I will tell more about on the pro and con in the later slide. But on the way we implemented here is we actually set it up the preset or different type of database, and then all you need to do is just import one file, ASU data connection DBP file, and then you will see all the connection is already preset for you. So that's one thing we make it, but just make sure that when you use them, and make sure your W drive is online. Okay, and also we know that we try to get the data from the SCCM. The SCCM still have the issue where they try to fix configuration, because the dbeaver, what happened was the dbeaver just we didn't have it before, so they already set up SCCM set up, but now we try to add the dbeaver, and for some reason the technical side they cannot metering them. That's why we won't be able to get the data. But we estimate it's probably around 100 to 200 people using it.
Real quick, Denise just mentioned that their office, the HR data team will definitely be building more in Power BI in the coming years. So they will, I'm volunteering you, Denise, they will be definitely the leaders in knowledge about that tool if you want to reach out to them just to share your experience if you're also using that tool. So.
Well, that's us. I mean, I'm the HR analytics team.
Yeah, that's you.
I was talking about us in the third person.
Thanks, Denise.
You're welcome.
We gotta fly through these, Bob.
So this is, like I mentioned before, is that the different type of database. So we select these not because of all they have, because of the major major database that ASU use would be all SQL, MySQL, Oracle, Redshift, SQL Server, and user database. So we have others who we usually want to connect with the database.
Yeah, if you have your department specific database that you need to connect to, just work with Bob. He can help you out.
And okay, so, and based on what my personal experience over here, just bit of we have pro and con. What is the pro and con for these two here? So I just list all that. Probably I'm just maybe I mentioned quite a few. The one thing I like about them is it's very very simple. You can format the T-SQL pretty easily, and also you can color code them, and also you can jump around between the database to run the SQL. That's the beauty of it. But the con one is that there's no visual query. We don't really care, right? So we don't need visual query. And also some of the UI, the way it looks is very tiny looking. Probably you look at, and especially me, and I have eye challenge, and sometimes it's very hard to identify what the icons look like. But other than that, it do very, very good job on SQL generator.
Yeah, I don't know about everyone in this room, but I have dbeaver open every day alongside tools like Alteryx, because I just love how quickly you can, do data discovery, poke around. Even if you're someone who uses Hyperion Studio, which is an audience of 200 people still that are mostly just out there using a visual query builder, if that audience learned just how to poke around in dbeaver, it would also help them. So there's a lot of outreach we could do about teaching people about these tools. It's nice that it's free. It'll probably be around for a long time. Just like this tool has been. So we used to have my reports. This is going to be another quiz question, is how many people are still using this tool that we've been trying to get rid of for 10 years now. Pretty significant size, and we will continue to chip away. It is a really hard tool to replicate though, because it was such a great all-in-one, build your visual query, pivot the results. You don't have to be good at building a query. You could take your results and then build onto that, just like Alteryx. So we're trying to pitch Alteryx as this replacement tool, but it's definitely not the same tool. So that's why it's been really tough to get people off of Studio. But if your department uses it, it's good to know about it. There's a really big downside in that your stakeholders need a workspace and a data warehouse account to run any reports that you make. So that is very unique to that tool. And to me, another big one is if you are hiring someone, maybe a young person, to step into a data role, they don't want to learn this old tool that doesn't exist anymore. That's just a fact of life. It's not the only part of the conversation, so I totally understand why groups are still using it. Our team could definitely do a better job of trying to help get them off of that tool onto other tools, but change is hard, so we understand. Our studio, we probably need to skip over. But if you have questions about it, just know that we support it and we can try to get you your RStudio projects going. FSX, we mentioned earlier, it's just a file share service that we're still figuring out all the kind of permissions stuff for, but in general, like right now, you could just go request a share and get it hooked up to Alteryx. You could mooch off of our share if you want to. It's still very much in flux on how we're going to manage all that. Just think of it as a place to store files. So you're sort of the product owner if you want to have your own share. And Josh threw some slides in here about databases that I don't think he even wants to get over here. Yeah, it's important, obviously, to know what databases we have out there and what they're used for. I encourage you to look at the slide deck and ask questions. In general, though, data warehouse meant for enterprise reporting, user databases, build your own tables there. Operational data store is the thornier one that's harder to explain. Integrations. Yeah. Twyla can talk about this viz that I think Stephen made.
Yes, and then Stephen will probably jump in because how do you explain this slide? No, it is from what you heard, there's a bunch of tools out there, right? So coming from here, it's more about what do I need for my job at the moment? You may find yourself at one point being a green arrow, moving to, I just need to see filter values. I do not feel like creating or blending or creating a dashboard. So what does that mean? You're probably going to be on the analytics portal. If you want to have an interactive report that looks really, really good, a great dashboard, Sam Carter's in the room because she is a Tableau owner. And so she'll talk to you about Tableau any day and share any resource she has or video she's watched that she likes. So that's a popular option that this viz will kind of lead you down and tell you, hey, I think I need a dashboard and what I'm trying to deliver to an end user. And then sometimes it's just what I showed, my favorite tool, which is Excel. So you could find yourself having raw data in Excel. You may find yourself needing to write SQL here, where tools like dbeaver come in handy, and they tie really well into Report Builder, which, again, if you have any questions about that tool, reach out to Stephen, and we'll give him a shout out because he's all things Report Builder. And then there's Power Query options, which we'll talk about more detail tomorrow. I'm trying to rush through the slide. If there's anything else you want to add, Dixon?
Yeah, I would just say, so I've been in this role specifically for, well, like on this team for 7 years. What I've learned, and I feel like your takeaway might be the same from this slide, is it's hard to choose a tool sometimes, or like a combination of tools. After 7 years, I've learned it's a conversation. It depends what data you're connecting to. It never hurts to just book that initial consultation, say, hey, what should I, like, what do you guys recommend? We'll give you some idea. And then a lot of it is just seeing what you like and you don't like. We have the tools, just go start using them. Like with Tableau, you can use web authoring just to see what it's like. A lot of these tools are really fun because they're just modern and they'll be nice for your resume. It never hurts to get exposed to a tool, even if you end up going a different direction. We probably don't have too much time to talk about saving and scheduling, but just know that we have options for automating all this stuff and we can help with monitoring and all of that. Twyla built this nice slide about events that is super important. Again, in the, like, to conserve time, we probably have to fly through this. But basically just know that you can alert your team to the fact that a subscription isn't working. I feel so bad. These are great.
I know. I stayed up to like 2 a.m. working on these pictures, guys. So, you know, you enjoy the slide deck. I think it'll help you out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we leverage report server subscriptions pretty heavily at ASU. There's a lot you can do there. It's just a stalwart Microsoft product that's not going away. And same deal with Tableau. You can schedule your extracts to refresh and get monitoring when they fail. All of this great content feeds into the analytics portal, which I can try to talk about in 10 seconds. But yeah, a lot of people use this, about 4,000 people per month. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with the portal. Wherever you save your content, whichever tool you use, it's going to end up somewhere, your data. Just know that it is secured by what analytics group it's in. And that's how we do security. So this is kind of nice that I'm skipping through this, because this is definitely the most boring part, is access. No one cares about access except me and Bob. We're happy to tell you all about the ins and outs of all this stuff and all the cool ways you can kind of make your group more accessible, like some of these other big groups are doing, where everything's just open to anyone with student data. Content visibility, this can get a little thorny, and it's going to change anyway. So again, glad that I'm just flying through all of this. This is really what I wanted to get to, is like the Power User Lounge tools that are out there. I just updated this homepage to add the nice little emojis and things. So I want you guys to visit that, and our hot off the presses analytics health dashboard. This will get better over time. So if you see a big red spike like we saw in this week for the report survey, you can know you're not alone, that people were getting error messages on that day. So this has been a long time coming, that we finally started to get this data together for you guys, so that you have a good monitoring on what these systems are doing. As a power user, hopefully you are somewhat interested in if things are working or not, even though most of that is on us to keep the lights on. And Twyla, you want to talk about training?
Yeah, because I think that's probably the most important thing, is we want to have self-service articles out there. We're working on updating them and keeping them up to date for you guys. So definitely use them. You can find them. I added the links to where you can actually go to check out the training catalog, and the new hire orientation just has a bunch of information on all the products you probably are going to need. And then if it's not there, let us know if it's something that you think should be created to help you do your job better. But that's the main thing, is check out the links, look at that, and then it should help you no matter what tool you're using, or if you want to learn about databases or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, Josh threw together that page on the left, and my takeaway from that again is like, wow, that's so much information. Like, it looks so intimidating when you go to that page as a new hire, but that is the reality. There are so many options. There are so many places you can take your career. There are so many places, so many different tools to use. We hope that we can be that guiding light, and of course, we'll get better over time, improving the catalog, improving that page that Josh threw together. Like, it's a learning process for us as well on how to best communicate all this stuff with you guys. So we appreciate your patience. These Slack channels have been huge. So if you don't have these, definitely get involved, even if you're just passively looking at them occasionally. But for sure, use the shared Slack channels, and don't DM Twyla.
No, don't.
But
But you
also, I try to bring it up on the consultation. Even if you schedule maybe half an hour or 15 minutes of your time, you learn a lot more than just, try to Slack back and forth. So the experience we have, there's a lot of time we try to troubleshooting with the Slack itself. So it's somewhat challenging, but the pictures speak louder than words. So I always, based on what I've been in Korea for a while. So consultation is a snapshot to show here, that's what happened. And then we solve it less than 5 minutes. So if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, if I had to choose between you guys DMing us and you guys hopping on a Zoom with us, like the latter feels way more justifiable. Like getting that face-to-face interaction is just great for networking in general and getting to know people like Bob. Everyone loves Bob. But if you're gonna DM, like that could just be in a Slack channel that is searchable, becomes like a knowledge repository, and I'm sure there are edge cases where you would want to DM someone. It might be more of a private convo, but for the most part, fight that like imposter syndrome, whatever it is that makes you want to go hide in DMs and just use those shared channels and reply threads. That's like my big takeaway. Weirdly, there's so much other information to share, but I just care so much about how we use Slack at ASU. Any questions? I got a good job. Thank you.